Good afternoon, guys. Happy Sunday. The Lord wanted me to come on today and share a little bit of a testimony of how He called me out of my career a few months ago. This is something I'm seeing happening a lot in the body of Christ as we transition into the kingdom age and the wealth transfer and all this. The Lord is having a lot of people come out of their jobs to step into full-time ministry, kingdom entrepreneurship, all these different things that He has planned. So I hope you guys are going back to Him and getting your ideas, right? So a little bit of story time. I graduated high school 2009. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, if you haven't been able to tell by the accent. And the Lord actually called me into firefighting. That was my full-time career. The verse He gave me when He confirmed it for me was Jude chapter 1, verse 23, the first sentence of which reads, save others by snatching them from the fire, right? Which is literally the job description. So that was the verse He gave me to confirm what He wanted me to do. So at the age of 22, I took the written exam for the FDNY. If any firefighters are listening to this, you'll know how difficult it is to get onto some of these bigger, more well-funded city departments, right? So to give you guys an example, the written test comes out once every 4 to 6 years, but you have to be no younger than 21 and no older than 29 to take it and to get on the job. So you have to get on the job within that 21 to 29 time frame of your age. So depending on when your birthday is and when the test comes out, you'll have a minimum of one chance, maybe two chances to take the test over the course of your life, right? So the test came out, I took it, and I've always been book smart. I've always been a good test taker. I scored a 98 on it, and I got 5 points of residency credit for being a New York City resident, which pushed my score up to 103. Every time the test comes out, roughly 75,000 people apply for it, and only about 12 to 1,300 on average are hired. So the list that I took, to give you an example of how competitive it was, the lowest score of the test that was called to the academy was 101. So everyone that scored under 101 was not even considered. And they have to wait, obviously, for another 4 to 6 years to take the next test. So I took it, I aced it, went through my physical, my oral board interviews, medicals, background checks, investigations, interviews, all this stuff. The whole thing took 6 years to do. So I took the test at 22, and I got my academy date for April of 2020 when I was 28 years old. I get a letter from my sponsor about a week before my academy starts. And meanwhile, this is the height of COVID, right? So I got furloughed from my job because there was no businesses even operating in New York City at that time. So I get a letter from my sponsor saying, due to the COVID concern, the mayor has shut all academies down until further notice. And looking back, the academies didn't pick up again for like another 11 or 12 months. So there was like a whole year stretch where there was just nothing happening. So you have guys retiring from the job and there's no one there to replace them. And that was a whole issue in and of itself. And I'm honestly glad that I didn't get on, because I know a few people that did and they end up not having a good time. A few of them actually took their lives, unfortunately, just due to the stress. So I got a letter saying that I wasn't going to be able to go, and I had to wait for the academy to reopen. So obviously I'm sitting there with no job. I'm praying into it. I'm like, Lord, I thought this is what you told me to do. So then this idea comes to me to enlist, right? So I went to an Air Force recruiter in 2020, took the ASVAB test the very next day, and I scored a 94 on it. So I pretty much qualified for every job the Air Force had, from services all the way up to intel and top secret jobs, pararescue, special operations. I pretty much qualified for any job I wanted, but I knew the Lord called me into firefighting. And the Air Force is the only branch that has an all-hazards approach to firefighting, meaning they respond to everything from medicals to building fires, structurals, aircraft fires, things like that. The Army and the Marines also have a firefighter branch, but they're usually tailored to a specific purpose, and they're kind of hard to get into. For example, the Marines only focus on crash firefighting, which is responding to aircraft incidents. So the Air Force had the all-hazards approach and functions most closely to what a civilian department would do. So I felt that was the best road for me. So I joined the Air Force. I spent my entire career overseas in the Pacific. And unfortunately, I enlisted under our previous president. And obviously, for those who don't know, God does set kings and leaders in authority into the position that they have. Some leaders are set up as a blessing, like Trump is now with his spirit of David. Some are meant to be a curse. Good old Sleepy Joe was 100% a curse on this country. 100%. And no one can convince me otherwise. That man was a judgment on America. And God allowed it to happen because He let the people vote for where their heart was, and their heart was wicked. And Yeah, he gave us over to what we wanted, and the American people wanted Biden. Well, I shouldn't say that. We all know what was really going on with that, but it was still a judgment on America. So I had the COVID vaccine forced on me in 2021, right? And I knew what it was. I knew what was behind it. I knew that it was a wicked, evil poison, and we were not meant to take it. I knew that. But I will admit that I failed the test of faith at that time, and I gave into a spirit of fear because I was being threatened with a dishonorable discharge for disobeying a lawful order. And obviously, I'm in the Pacific at this time. I got rid of all my assets in the U.S. before I PCS'd over there. So I was being threatened with a felony dishonorable discharge to probably where I would never be able to get a decent job again. I would have been kicked out back to the U.S. with no car, no home, no money, no assets, no nothing. And obviously, you guys can see how difficult that would have been. But obviously, if I did take it and acted in faith, I know the Lord would have provided for me, because a lot of other people who have gone through that I know of ended up getting right back in the military once Trump got in and had their pay restored. So I know that he would have provided a way out if I had taken it. But at the time, I'll be honest, I'll be humble, I failed. I failed that test miserably, and I gave in. I took the vaccine September of 2021. I believe it was September 10th. It was like 2 weeks before my birthday. And I've had a healthy heart my entire life, right? I've always been active. I've been in martial arts. I've been in wrestling. I've played football my entire life. I've always been active. I've always had a very healthy heart, and my average resting heart rate for the entirety of my life up until this point was like mid 40s to low 50s, which is a healthy heart. So right after I took that shot, within, I'd say 5 or 10 minutes, I immediately started to lose all the feeling in my hands and then all the feeling in my feet. Pins and needles, couldn't feel anything. Then that feeling would move from my hands up to my shoulder and from my feet up to my hips. So for about 45 minutes after taking that shot, I had no feeling at all in both arms and both legs. Scared the hell out of me. I thought I was going to die right then and there. Thank God I didn't. For a year after that, those symptoms subsided after a couple of hours, but I had nothing but heart problems that entire time. I would work out and be immediately out of breath with workouts that I have been doing for years that have never been a problem. Constant chest pains, fluttering heart, just heart palpitations. So 11 months after I took that shot, October of 2022, the following year, I had a heart attack at the age of 29. And obviously I'm a firefighter. I'm working on this base that I'm stationed at. And I was actually off that day. It was my Kelly day, which is like the extra day off we have every 2 weeks. So my shift was working, but I was off. So I knew what was happening. I know what a heart attack is. I'm an EMT. I've treated many heart attack patients over the years, so I know what the symptoms are. So I call them up, and my own shift transports me to the hospital. So in the same ambulance I've been driving for years, transporting patients, I'm now in the back of the same ambulance. And obviously I know where everything is. So I'm like grabbing the EKG, hooking everything up, getting the pulse ox on my finger, just kind of treating myself. So I get to the emergency room, and I was there for about 8 hours. And I could hear the doctors in the other room talking amongst themselves, saying, like, what's been going on? We've had nothing but heart attack cases over the past couple of months. And this was around the time they were giving the shot. And I'm still working at this time. So I'm responding to these same cases. We had like a 360-something% increase in cardiac arrest cases just in that time frame of people that were normally healthy, young, fit, in shape. No reason for them to have these problems. So they were basically talking amongst themselves about how I had a heart attack, but then when they came back in to talk to me, they're like, oh yeah, everything seems okay right now. We're really not sure what's going on. And obviously, they're being told to keep everything hush-hush. I mean, that's something that I have no problem talking about now because I'm obviously not in the military anymore. But the higher-ups knew exactly what was going on. They knew the reason behind it, and they turned a blind eye to it because they had orders from on high. I'm not just talking about the White House. I'm talking about orders on high. Principalities and powers of the air. And they kept it all hush-hush, and they wouldn't talk about it. They refused to actually divulge into what was going on. But obviously, I'm also working in the healthcare field at this time, and I see all this happening for myself. So up until that, I had planned on doing a full 20 years and retiring. After that moment, I'm like, yeah, I need to get the hell out of here before this guy kills me. Good old Sleepy Joe. So I finished the rest of my term. Got out in 2024, and what most Air Force firefighters do is that they transition once they get out into a civilian federal position with the Department of Defense. It's a really easy, streamlined position. You get out of the military, you apply on USA Jobs. They accept all the military certifications, and then you basically just go to a new base. You put on a new uniform, and you swap out your OCPs for your navy blue job shirt, job pants, and all the stuff you'd pick up at 511, right? So I was working as a civilian federal firefighter for a Navy installation from April of 2024 until the Lord called me out of it. So what actually happened was in November of 2024, last year, I had a prophetic dream. So in this dream, President Trump comes up to me, puts his arm around my shoulder, and it was real informal. He was like a friend of the family. It wasn't like, oh, yes, sir, Mr. President, great to see you. It was like, hey, buddy, how you doing? So it was real informal. He puts his arm around me and he says, are you ready to put in your resignation? And my response was yes. Then he said, I'm going to find a platform for you in my administration where you'll preach the gospel with spirit and truth. And obviously that's symbolic. I don't think I'm going to be working for the White House or anything like that. And then my response to what he said was, every time someone asks me a question, God gives me an answer, right? And then I woke up. So I'm meditating on it, I'm thinking about it. And then the very next month, Trump comes out with the deferred resignation program for federal workers because he's trying to downsize the workforce to make up for the unbelievable lack of financial sense that the last administration had and just the ridiculous inflation that we have now. So he has to cut those funds from somewhere, and that's one of the places where he cut it from. So he was also threatening to lay off everyone that was within their 12-month probation period. And obviously, I just got out of the military. I haven't hit that 12-month window yet. I was like 9 or 10 months in at the time. So I prayed about it. I did get confirmation. I did get confirmation from 2 or 3 sources, but obviously giving up your 6-figure career with your pension and benefits is a big deal, especially when you don't have anything else to go into, right? So the first round of it came and went, and we only had about, I think, 3 weeks to give a decision and to send in our resignation. And for me, that wasn't enough time. And obviously, God did provide the confirmation. And I'll share the confirmation he did give me, which I overlooked. And looking back, it's so funny because God really does have a great sense of humor. And the confirmation he gave me was very funny. Almost funny to the point where I said to myself, that can't possibly be God. That's ridiculous. And that's what I said, and I missed it. So what happened was I was at the park when I was praying. I was just going on a walk. And I threw a fleece before the Lord, and I happened to see a plastic spoon, like someone was eating food and just threw a plastic fork on the ground. I'm sorry, it wasn't a spoon, it was a plastic fork. So I'm like, all right, Lord, I throw a fleece before you. If this is something you want me to do, I pray that I see 2 more forks, right? And I did. I happened to come across 2 more completely random forks. And I know it sounds so ridiculous looking back, but that's just the fleece that I threw before the Lord at the time, and that's just what came out when I prayed. I don't know how to describe it. So, I mean, that happened. I saw the ones I asked for, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of ridiculous. I'm asking God to see forks. Like, I am not going to bet my entire future in leaving my career based on seeing forks. So I said, okay, Lord, I saw the 3 forks you asked me to, but I'm going to ask you for one more thing because I really need confirmation. I want to see a fork that's a little bit fancier than these plastic, junky utensils that are on the floor that I've been seeing. And so I said that. I kid you not, a few days later, a family member calls me and says, I saw something real funny today, and I wanted to show you. I don't know why, I just felt like I needed to show you this. It was really funny. So she was taking out her dog for a walk, and she came across literally a pile of dog feces in the middle of the street on the curb, and someone had taken a beautiful, like silver engraved dining fork and stuck it in a pile of poop. And I'm like, okay, you gotta be kidding me. Okay, Lord, I see it. I see what you're doing here. And that still was not enough confirmation for me, and I still didn't take the offer. So those 3 weeks came and went, and I missed my opportunity. So, and you guys know how it is. When God tells you to do something and you're afraid to do it, you're freaking out the whole time, and then when that opportunity passes, the very next day, you're like, oh man, I wish I took it. And that's exactly what I did. So that first offer came and went. And President Trump did say that he would never give that offer again. There was a one-time thing, and if you didn't take it, that was it. You lost your chance. So I prayed and I said, Lord, if you really wanted me to take this, I know the confirmation you showed me. If you really want me to take this, I pray that despite Trump saying he will never open up this program again, if you want me to take it, I pray he opens it up again, and if he does, then I promise you I will take it. The next month, President Trump comes out and says, hey, we're going to reopen the offer because I don't think that we gave enough time for people to make a decision because we didn't have the numbers of people that accepted it that we wanted to see, so we're going to open up again. And they only opened it up again at that time for the Department of Defense, not any other government agency. Department of Defense was who I was working for. So at that point, I'm like, okay, Lord, too much confirmation. I need to take a step of faith because I want more of you, and I want to be in ministry full time. So if you're trying to transition to me and answer my prayers, then I'm going to take it. I'll take a step of faith. So I took the offer. The email that we got that described the offer and basically, had us respond yes or no to it, you can't make this up, guys. You want to know what the email was called? And it was sent out by Elon Musk. The email was called a fork in the road. Come on. Come on. You can't make that up. A fork in the road. And the confirmation that God gave me was literally forks in the road. It's unbelievable. So yeah, I took that offer, and I went on administrative leave from my job on May 11th. And with that offer, I get paid up until September 30th. So I have one paycheck left to go. I get paid on the second week of September, and that'll be my last paycheck. So the Lord's been providing for me financially this entire time. And yeah, after that, I continue to believe and stand in faith that he will provide as he will for everybody else. So I actually went to Bible study a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to share this same testimony, right? And I was praying about whether to share it because I know it can be kind of like a spiritually meaty thing, and I'm still kind of new to the church I'm going to, so I didn't want to overshare and make people think like, oh, this guy's crazy. God's calling him out of a job, right? But this church is full of spirit-filled people. It's a fantastic place. And if you guys follow Lauren Atkinson, she has a part of her website called Find Your Tribe, and she basically vets all these spirit-filled churches, and the ones that pass her vetting process get listed. And the church that I found was actually on that Find Your Tribe list, so it's been completely spirit-led, and it's been such a blessing. So I prayed if that God would give me confirmation if he wanted me to share that testimony. So as I'm sitting there and everyone's just going around the room, before I even opened my mouth, 2 other people had shared how God was also calling them out of their jobs. So that was obviously my confirmation. By 2 or more witnesses, everything is confirmed. So I shared, and it blessed everybody. It was great. But I wanted to come on here and share that with you because I know that people are going to be watching this video who are going through what I went through, who believe that the Spirit is leading them to, be called out of their jobs. And obviously, don't take what I say for face value. You need to seek the Lord for your own confirmation, right? I'm not telling anyone to quit their jobs by any means. But I believe that we are transitioning into the kingdom age. We are on the verge of this wealth transfer. And I believe that that we are all like literally standing at a Red Sea moment. We're at the shores of the Red Sea, and we have Pharaoh's chariots at our back, and we're just waiting for God to part that water. And as soon as it parts and as soon as we walk through, the promised land's on the other end. And I can't tell you how much of a urgency I have in my spirit for the next 2 months. Like, I don't know what's going to happen, but September, October, the Lord has been highlighting those 2 months to me like you will not believe. It's like a fire in my bones every day. Like, keep your eyes on these months. Something's going to happen September, October. Everything's going to change. And the word I keep hearing is suddenly, suddenly, suddenly. And if you guys watch Brandon Biggs, and if you guys watch Carolyn Dennis from Declaring Your Destiny, she prophesies a lot about the great and terrible day of the Lord. And I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I believe something big is coming in the next few months. And both of them prophesy about the 24-hour period. If you've listened to them, you know what they're talking about. And the Lord's been highlighting a lot of this kind of same thing to me, like a global 9/11 level event. But September, October, I have my eyes on those months for sure. So if you're watching this video and you've been praying for the Lord to transition you into full-time ministry, I would take this as a source of confirmation and bring it back to him and get your confirmation from him yourself. But I truly, truly, truly believe that the Lord has been calling a lot of people out of their careers lately. And one of the things he shared with me is that my calling has not changed. That calling I had when I came into firefighting, snatching people from the fire, he basically told me that calling has not changed, but it's taking a shift from the physical to the spiritual. So instead of, grabbing people out of burning buildings to save their flesh, I'm going to be feeding the sheep and bringing in the lost, bringing in the harvest, and snatching people out of the spiritual fire and saving their spiritual bodies, right? So in that sense, I know that calling is still on my life, but It's just being shifted into more of a spiritual direction. So I take a lot of comfort in that. But yeah, if you guys have been feeling like the Lord's been calling you out of your job, shoot me a message. Let me pray for you. Give me your testimony. I want to hear about it. I want to hear who else has been going through this. And obviously, it's a giant test of faith, guys. Especially when you're the sole provider, you have a family to take care of. Giving up a 6-figure career with a pension and benefits is incredibly difficult. Incredibly. But the Lord's always going to provide. One of the other verses he gave me was how he cares for the birds in the air. He feeds them. He clothes the lilies of the field, and all of Solomon in his splendor was not arrayed like one of these. So if God cares for them, how much more would he care for you? So, yeah, that's my story. If you guys have any questions, shoot me a message. I love you all. I'm praying for you all. I'm standing in the gap, coming into agreement with your prayers. And I pray it's a source of confirmation for somebody. And take all things back to the Lord, but I hope this blesses you. And until next time, take care. God bless.